Yate Abine. It's good to be with you all this morning. Vice President Lizer here. Comanche Nishle. Tohana Basistin, Auto Comanche Deshche, Clash Chidesh and Ellie. It's good to be with you all this morning on this August 19th Town Hall COVID-19 update. So without further ado, open up with prayer and then we'll start off with our President, Jonathan Nez. Yeah, Shidi and God. Bohonihi, God, we come to you today and ask for your hand of blessing, Father. But first, Lord, let us come to you with thanksgiving, Lord, in our hearts, and thankful for another day of life, Lord. Thankful that you breathe the air of life into our lungs, Father. And Lord, we pray and lift up those that are sick, Lord, possibly with the virus. And Lord, we pray that your breath of life, Lord, would go into those lungs and bring the healing, Lord, Father, that we are all praying for. And Lord, as we pray for that, we also pray that your provision and your hand, Lord, protect us, Father, going forward into this season, this flu season, Lord, Father. We pray your grace and mercy on the people of the land here in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord, that we can come to you for wisdom, Lord, and as we submit everything to you, Lord, we'll be successful. So, Father, we give you this meeting, this time together, Lord. We thank you that you have brought the leaders here. Lord, let our words be clear. Let the people that hear them run with it, Lord. And Lord, let the whole land be blessed. We thank you that portions of our land are receiving much needed moisture. Father, we pray you open up the windows of heaven and pour out such a blessing on it, Lord, that we'll not have room to contain it. We thank you and we humbly ask, Lord, your presence to be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you. We this morning, as we come to you this morning, vital updates. We've just opened up and brought some of the workers back, and as we phase it in there, of course, you'll be hearing some of the updates as we just started work here a couple of days ago. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Navajo Nation, Jonathan Nez. Take it away, sir.
All right, yeah. Arnold Suarez. Danikin Natligi do isonot snagi here adokwa tragagenda nish DJ Wednesday ado jo dana di baho and then jo nish o khyu der jan khandel nish kodo ebnina ashtada dilne jo baho dilne di bindel nishigi di no ebnina digenda Navajo do Baho the Quahana. Nikit Ashton and Daily to the Questions States at the Nenigi to a Kodo Nihike Nihidna a banana shidek Nigi Wanda Wheelne. Do ya Nast Eddie do Sebedin doba ana state the miliage doba an tratnes natin doba ana din naste eneltel e kon das ka di kosmitskagi naste at teseta bedilia adon le nashni yishla yahishni March be don le di jinge the Kosintskagi Beda Halonigi, Tessa Dabedila, Dabediliagi do Ajezel Indan Linigi A.O. the Nashnigi A. Nehelo, Jobeda Dolnagi A. Nahast A. the Mil Yaja do Di Nesnati Doba Art Sebeti Hasta. Nelt e kon ik enigheden dat not do hot COVID-19 positive de klinigi hot ashin kodon halchen hot aan diska akonde each das kregia jodi test da bediliagi do nashnigi o beda halno hado nigi lan each das kre ya hastra de miliage do nahast e nesnatin do has so ding doba bi nel ekon ayat and aslin so bajo to lik any na but so deals in she a quich ado a konde kon lik any na it's that it tenigi di ni chen das kregi chen da naltegi ai ti nezan tin doba Nahasta din do ma din nel e kon ni keni na ni tsa da jitten e shin kon ni keni na but so deals in ya anil sko do kudo sa chi be ha ni shi kudo biche da delia shi kedo shin na ado kon the more biskania da e ni Washington galchen hi kedan lengi agenda nashigia ya analia akonde sa ya ahalande ndalnesh ara sa kod offices de ndalnesh de nebiki pa bini nagi jodi nasnegi de kosenskagi nas zata zebaten ebini na ahot nakandal nashki bikida det ni shikedo shidna so ahot andelia so eshi nikespeda hazendodle akonde ote belagana dan lenigin hikestan lenigia ya di doba at eda kon de nebiki pakao shatla chanda kaya aro kojido the tsada dings on the parks and recreations da and the del kal beninagi jo kon belagana hikistan lenigi kon chanda kregi abiche del kal dole the nebiki apaka so on his thousand dole konshitla anda agenda Ishi Navajo Nation le yindal degido ishi atskin lugo Navajo Nation kon de nebiki apaka yinda aje dole aro di akonda kay da bedine shikero shinna ishi on $1,000. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Jonathan Nez. You know, we have many presenters again today. Town hall, we didn't have it yesterday, obviously. We did have a town hall meeting on Monday. Tuesday, we have a lot of items that we needed to discuss yesterday and get you an update, so a better update, and that's what we're going to be trying to give you today. We appreciate you all tuning in today. And the new numbers today, 89,399 have been tested here on the Navajo Nation, over 40%. Since the start of this public health emergency, 9,486 have tested positive. Those that have recovered, 6,987 people. Our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go out to the 484 families who lost loved ones here on the Navajo Nation. So we continue to pray. We continue to, pray for our loved ones here. So, Eli, if you want to bring up that chart, the chart here says the total test also has the negative test and the positive test as of today. And if you see the asterisk there, you might not be able to read it. It does say multiple tests performed on same individuals have been deduplicated. That means it's not showing up as a test, because we're making sure that we test each of those Navajo citizens that want to be tested. So 89,399, 75,024 tested negative, 9,486 have tested positive. And if you go to the next slide, Eli, it shows you the progression throughout the pandemic, or in our case, the public health emergency, from March 17th to yesterday. These numbers are from yesterday at 5 p.m. So as you can see, there has been, when it came into the Navajo Nation, a slow incline of cases, and it peaked out in early May, and also started to begin to flatten out in mid-May, and started to come down in late May. And as you see there, we have dramatically decreased the numbers here. And that's because of each and every one of you, the help that you're doing that. You are doing such a excellent job, ladies and gentlemen, for following through on these public health emergencies. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see the 8 service areas throughout the Navajo Nation. And those are Chinle, Kayenta, Crown Point, Shiprock, Fort Defiance, Tuba City, Gallup, and Winslow. And as you see there, it shows the color-coded for each service area, and you can see that, you know, the peak and actually the decline now in cases here on the Navajo Nation. And so, awesome job. Congratulations to the Navajo people, but we can't let down. Please, Navajo people, don't let down, you know. We are still out there continuing the outreach. You know, Vice President and I and our team, our cabinet members, our division directors are still out there letting people know to continue to wear your mask. Wearing your mask is very important, everyone. And also washing your hands, social distancing, and staying home as much as possible. I know we reopen, but we are encouraging our employees, you know, if you are at your workstation, go to your workstation and just go directly home and try to limit the large gatherings in and around our Navajo Nation, especially off our nation. Off our nation, you know, those are hot spots, and we got to prepare. We got to prepare for the winter, and that's why we lessen the hours for the weekend curfews, right? It used to be 57 hours. Now it's 32 hours. Each day, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. is a curfew lockdown. And then on the weekends now, it's Saturday at 9 p.m. to Monday at 5 a.m. So please, please honor that. Honor that. This is an honor system now. And I ask you to please honor and respect that public health order, so that we can keep the numbers down. I know it's some of the faith-based organizations, churches, are asking, when can we go back to church? And some of the churches are starting to do their drive-in churches on Saturday and also during the non-curfew hours. So we appreciate that. You know, churches is not the physical building, right? Church is the gathering of the body of Christ, and so you can do that in different times as well. You know, I think many experts have said that the Sabbath is actually on Saturday too. So, not to go into some of the teaching, but even on the ceremonies, you got to continue to follow the protocol. And that protocol is available. So Friday nights and Saturday nights before 9, you know, those are things that you need to keep in mind as well. We have signed a new public health executive order. So Eli, if you could put that text up, the public health executive order, and the number is 2020-021. That public health executive order states that we are rescinding the stay-at-home shelter in place, but we are implementing a safer at-home public health emergency. And so what does that mean? You know, you are not mandated to stay home, but you are encouraged, and you are actually mandated to wear your mask in public, because we got to prepare for winter, and we have to release and lessen some of these restrictions so that we can prepare. We have to prepare for the winter. Many of you have said that you went wood hauling. You're getting your harvest together so you can store it for the winter, and just preparing our elders for the winter. And our elders have said that. The more anda ilia di tkinigi kare da dosnetch da ste ado nidak eta nation ya bindasnish chian shi ste da ste holle khego chdas indoles ebinina kota anda ilia konde the more gonna team that el caldo left on the jet dollars any $1,000 ashone ni ken so za kon and the sort ebinina kon that ni tiendo anda ilia so ya kon nicht schnia die kostenskagina hast aids at aro ebinina junigol hinan nishta ya adasha ba kenitsen Kade tsisikoshi andal neto lekon ni Washington don ali abawan akonde aro o khayud ne asahandat le ado di kon odlan nasnigi edo dadone ya hashe ya anal net dadone anal ya akonde shin chde bi inta sotra ni hiltahal dahan net dolel jo ya beninagi jodi andi nasni kon Nikeya Pakao, Zebaten, maybe Naan hit Shidibi in the sort of Nihilta net dollet. Ado Kojido citizen and the traditional practitioner, the medicine man, and here Koja medicine man than Linigia, Hatrati than Linigi Edo, Hot Bakodanosson. Ashlato hot sahandat let aron he master chdatle kodo ani aje tseledela dan linigi bilasi clean o ani master chadel endano e ba he needs so here na de kedalongo e kon he khandal neshigi rexley jim hanad nesto Davis Filford e aje he ka nalu Here, Hatrali dan Linigido, Ajin and Tinigido, Hota, Kanat Ashasa. So in here, Nadi Kid alone, in Hitch at the Dosle, she came not Linidi, citizen Banaho, Hagia, Hatralipa. Akonda, Hot, a Dasle. So Eba by Henitz, a Jodo, Adola, a Shandatle, Nigijo Ebenia. With the shelter in place order, the safer at home transition, we are transitioning to lessening that restriction. But we do encourage everybody. That's why we're saying safer at home. It is safe to be at home, ladies and gentlemen, and we encourage you to stay at home. Wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands with soap and water. The other thing that we put into the public health executive order is that we reinstate the requirements for drive-in gatherings, and I mentioned that in Navajo a bit for our prayers and other larger gatherings, and we're encouraging everybody to stay in their vehicles. If you're going to do a function, a large function, then do it have your people sit in their vehicle and do it with a those drive-in provisions. The other is restating the daily and weekend curfew hours. You remember the daily curfew hours are from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. each day. On the weekends, the curfew starts on Saturday at 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So that's going to stay, and we appreciate everyone abiding by that. So public health order. Now, Eli, if you could put the executive order up, the executive order that Vice President and I signed and that's for our Navajo Nation employees. And there we are encouraging our Navajo Nation employees to have a clean workstation. We can't always rely on the folks who clean the offices. We got to keep our workstations cleaned, and we also have said that we're going to continue the travel restrictions. So, Navajo Nation employees, so what we're saying is the travel ban for Navajo Nation employees stays. No Navajo Nation employee should be traveling off to Navajo Nation unless it is an emergency, like courts. We have to be in the courtroom for child protection cases or things like that. But other than that, no Navajo Nation employee will be traveling off our Navajo Nation. So you see the executive order before you. It is signed. I think we'll go ahead and put the signed executive order on the comment section. Chris Bahi, if you could put it on the comment section to where our Navajo Nation constituents can click and get a copy of the public health order as well as the executive order for our Navajo Nation employees. So take a look at that, and I did explain it, but please read these. Please read these. Navajo Nation employees, read these articles. People out there, read the articles, right? Read the press releases, read it fully before you comment. Sometimes it's obvious you don't read it because all your questions can be answered if you read the document. And there are, again, no visitors. Eli, if you could put the law. Now, I know some of the vendors and the park staff and the artisans, the tour companies are asking, while you're opening the Navajo Nation government, why is the parks and recreation still closed? The reason it's still closed is that the Navajo Nation Council passed a resolution to close all the roads to our visitors. And President, myself, and Vice President, we signed that legislation, so it's a law. And that law states that the Navajo Nation is closed to our visitors. So if we want to change that, the only way it'll change is two ways. If the council comes back and rescinds that and it opens it back up to our visitors, we will consider it. But we have to keep the health and well-being of our Navajo people in mind. The second is when the public health emergency order is over, then this law goes away. And so we are still in a peak public health emergency right now. So that public health emergency is not going away anytime soon. So if I know the tour and the vendors are up in arms a little bit and saying, hey, we need to make a living, but we'll come back to that. There is some relief for our vendors out there, and that'll help you through this tough times. So we were in helping out in Phoenix. We weren't in Phoenix. We were here in Window Rock, but we helped out with the food and distribution drives. Thank you so much for all of you who donated food and items to take down to Phoenix for those that are in need. We are a sovereign nation. Of course, we appreciate the Navajo friends helping us during our peak. And we're also appreciative of the many organizations who helped us out. So we shouldn't be just taking and receiving, right? We should also be a blessing. And that was my challenge to many of you. And many of you took on that challenge and donated. And the donations went to Phoenix Indian Center this past weekend, and they handed out food and supplies. So the more yajian da e kodo Navajo Nation do nika na jagi e ya kodo chiyan do ishi la na win zinigi e indasi ni hosdoda. Jo koyun ko china ad kedahat. Ara bakagish kijina khed na kejini. Ara nada sozuda bilagana. Je kad e ad dinas negi yego de des kidigi edat. Ara Washington that ato di peso yelada aleta e shibini nasla edat. Nishido kandicha. Tadi no kut aho Nihe shinabel Myron Lizer e akod sagaho zande nihina danihina dinal kidigibi makonde ade e ya yika na jagiya ahot hian ndai ada illa chian des le nihikeni neje kodayilla Aro nihe kodo kai ka objegi ihe da nihidi nido le asa no ta asa no zno e ba he nits so nihe kodo ako nihe shit da di nitle ado shisha da no da yada tike kon keni na ade keda hat nigido nihi kai je od so ebinina nihe do ka di chata di no ohota ada iliash keroshin kayu start as bin is nothing enel e kon hi kebich in da si ni do belgana do na credo na kajini do nada sozuda also jo edo sa chehedat shladin ha zogo ni ke ni hidnasha ade keda hat ado edo kai jegi ba he nits ni hido ata ka nature to let ado ni ja kod nani klita di nisla ni hido aka nature ota di inshin hikidez ido let jo hot esle chikedo shun ado klenado di bindal kidigi e ni haditse dan hishno ota di kuje janez ajda hikagiya e kota e hasti do kodo deneni tlini e ada ilia jobini nagishin hichida des in belganada halit da osala khayu ye di nashnigi ad cases igi de deskinna ara hashat e ya kutza atskilego dan hishno she kodona khayashti odini e nikeni ne e kota da illa beninagi e natani kenda zon da istsa e benina akotza o de e ya belgana keda hat inje e ya o yo sahaloya e shila gilbeda hazan she do di shchito shzeb kisket da dole she o mas shoshina da non la trada da khan lego Baniche ashon kodol ka nature ya deskit nashnegi so she nakashni shikeno lini kota ya she benina ni hadith ta shidini no kota ya ada iliat eta so edo on his person do le sta da doshne hat ni gije ina antini gije kondele ado ni zado ashkhode basotki o ashi ni later ahagan jista oyo hashit el akonda lani masani hicheni nale aita ahot keda hat chenno lenigi ya ninda khaygi ni masani hicheni nale bigeda do which enta hafne la kodoni masani hicheni nale Hitchenda now. Nika Chendon Hitchenda Krina. Do don the job, but and then Hitch Honda da no da Yadat. Ako Vicenta Hasna. Ashan da Badonna. Aro peso da Vicenta. Doe Vicenta Kredishnida. O Vicenta Hasna. Ashant Shemasan Shache. Shemado Shaje da Badonna. Aina Antina Bidawi Zahoda. Tayo on let the Yadat Kadadoka. Ashit she Niyadaho Agishi Benina Hola. A condensai, and then Hitchekodalia. Ado Benda Notin. Biga had a Nenigi. Heshiako, none letting. And net do Nantin. The Yadash. Shot Abadonna. He came in Naya, which then does tea. Chedat and Sha. That's all the dots and Ashwade. Ein Antina. Bidahilza. So Ebinina Kodoni Joba Inchkech Gedoshin. A Bayadast here. Jo. Ado Dido Con Nashnegi. A beach di Kahoda. Kane Jado Hitendale Nashajukon Andy. Ben that Nitin. The more da a Dingin that Nashed Dashan. A team. Team Baho nda Jeho Econ di Nalsosen da si ni dia da Bada Hanegia, the Kosenskagi do hand sanitizers in Hillabe Chodas Enigi clean dish Enigi on da si ni do the mask that Agido team. Di Chishido Hota Nadil Neto Lesha, Dingin Askaya, Dingin da National Late in Langishin Hota da il Neto Les. So Ebinina the mask to dash. Aro yedago to yadash. Chikadoshin Ashwan. Ado Din Hill do Talawish bed, Trada, Kisto hand sanitizer shadash. Ada Hagan da Sot an Habiga Ashwad. Eben Nacha Egot and Kinigi Beach di Kahoda. Ado Sashin do the neck at Yadash. The Sashin Bilagana Jiyadash. Dishin Sha Trahadash net do less Kodo Nahal Chin Bilagana Ketchade to Dayos Enigi. So Kosad Dan Nisha. Doni the neck at Yanskit at the Hat Nisha. Ako the neck at Yaja Hajit Ziho. Ko Heshi. Hulaha Ishin Din need now what did me. So on his thousand dollars Gedoshin. Nkhashia Trada Hasnet dollars. Bilagana Sad Njanago Chadash Enigi. I just also wanted to mention too with the CARES Act funding. So if you can put the slide up of the CARES Act breakdown, Eli. We have a breakdown of the CARES Act now. We just signed a legislation recently that approved funding for the Navajo Nation. I'm trying to pull it up on my computer here. It's taking some time. My apologies, but there on your screen it should show the breakdown. So $714 million came to the Navajo Nation, right? And for the first allocation, and you can see that at the top of the screen, it says we approved $21,059,530.10. That was CJN 4720. That was for the immediate needs to reopen. That's water and basics to get food packages to those that are COVID positive and their families. 10 million went to them. Computer hardware for our staff, 2 million. We also have Bathroom additions to prepare for the water lines, 3.5 million. We also have the healthcare assistance, that 638 facilities in the amount of 3 million, like Winslow, Indian Healthcare, Tehetso, Utah Health, Utah Navajo Healthcare, Tuba City, those 638 facilities. You know, they're not IHS, so we supplemented $3 million to them for their needs. Are to keep these monies tracked, we put $2.5 million aside for our Office of the Controller so that they can track the money. So in total, and you can see the red lines, those are the line item vetoes, bathroom additions, chapter allocation, judicial allocation. But of all the ones we signed into law, 21 million was signed into law. The second legislation was CJN 4620. We put $21 million for special duty pay. Before you start asking where's that at, we did submit and allocated a lot of that to our, I know there's so many more employees out there, and some are even asking, why am I not getting special duty pay? We're saying it's supposed to be for those that put their health and well-being on the line, but now everybody wants a piece of the action. But we'll have Dr. Fowler talk about that. Special duty pay, we put 21 million in that resolution. PPEs, $10 million, and to reconfigure and to make the office space better, $10 million for that, and then that totals $41 million. So 21 million plus 41 million, those were the first two allocations of funds. And then we also just recently, on this past weekend, did another legislation. We thank the Navajo Nation people for their hard work and getting their needs brought to our attention. And we did do a proposal, right, to the Navajo Nation Council. We want to say thank you to the council for taking on the people's proposal. In CJY 6720 there, water projects, we approved $130 million for water projects. Power line projects, 44 million. And telecommunication and broadband, 68 million. Because our students are back to school and we need to telework. We're going to improve some of the broadband telecommunication here on the Navajo Nation. And then we also have I'm sorry, let me go back to telecommunication broadband. It is actually 53 million. 53 million for telecommunication and broadband. Solid waste, that allocation went to the U.S. EPA, Navajo EPA. The EPA is a regulatory office, so it doesn't go into the EPA, but we're willing to revisit that, and I'll come back to that. So we line item vetoed that. Solar projects, 35 million. We had line item 34 million. We are looking at former Bennett Freeze and repackaging that solar projects for native renewals. So a lot of the repackaging will be introduced into the legislative process this week by Kealan Begay. Hardship assistance, of course, $1,000. That was recommended by the council. We approved that. Parks and Recreation, $828,000, and those are for the vendors, the tour guides as well. Payroll support pay, and we had the line item 48 million because we can use some of the FEMA monies for this, getting reimbursed 75%. So, but we approved 42 million of that, and that's for reimbursements and special duty pay to get those dollars back, and whatever dollars we get back, it'll go back into the general fund. So $42 million. Navajo Nation Gaming Enterprise, for those workers that work for the gaming enterprise, you guys all got laid off, but we did approve $24.6 million But the enterprise, the gaming, the casinos will remain closed for an additional 3 weeks, so it doesn't reopen because of the comments that we've received. But we do also need to make sure that those employees are taken care of because they're in need of assistance as well. So 24.6 million. Housing, we had the line item veto. I mean, some of these housing projects, they were divided into 24 regions, the 24 delegate regions, and it was a 50-50 allocation. So some regions got more than others. And when we found out that some of the smaller chapters, you can't even build a house for that amount that was allocated for that. And plus, it shouldn't be equal distribution, it should be need-based. So we're going to repackage up the housing, and I'll come back to that in a bit. Judicial branch, 9.6 million for Chief Justice, and the judicial branch, we approved that in the amount of 9.6. If you look at the left side document on the left, the longer sheet, that's what I'm going through, and it says final appropriations there. Going through the list. Navajo Department of Health requests at the amount of 75.8 million, and that's to bulk up our Navajo Department of Health and get ready for the vaccines, get ready for quarantine and isolation facilities here on the Navajo Nation with the wraparound services, meaning that they need to be taken care of. Someone needs to have a place to stay. They'll be staying in the Chinle and the hotels, Chinle Community Center, and other places, hotels on the Navajo Nation. So we'll give you a breakdown. Dr. Jim will give you a breakdown of that. So with the recent approval of the legislation that was forwarded over to us, we approved over 70% of what the council considered, and a lot of those were the proposals from the Office of President and Vice President, the executive branch, and really it's your proposal, Navajo people. That's how we package it up. So the total amount that was approved this weekend was $475 million. $475,666,192. All right. So I'm going to the last box there where it says 4 running balances, and there we have the breakdown. So the first allocation, as I mentioned, remember, total is $714 million. The first allocation that was approved was in CJN 4720. Well, let me step back. 714 million total. 189,631.47 is the total CARES Act fund coming to the Navajo Nation, right? The first allocation we received on May 6th, that was $600,559,530.10. The second allocation was on June 16th, $86,358,877.04. Third allocation we got in June 18th, $27,271,224.33. Those 3 allocations total up to, again, $714,189,631.47. That's the total. That's the total. Our first legislation that was approved, CJN 4720, allocated $21,059,530.10. So if you subtract that from $714 million plus, what remains is $693 plus million. The second resolution, CJN 4620, in the amount of $41 million was approved. So you subtract that from the 693 plus million, which gets us to 652 plus $1 million. And just recently this weekend, CJY 6720, we approved 475 million plus. So you subtract that again, and what remains is $176,463,909.37. So that is what's remaining after we line item vetoed some of the proposals from this weekend's resolution. Now, Eli, go to the gray page. Now, for the new proposal that we want to introduce, you know, a lot of those were projects. A lot of the ones that we approved are projects, power lines, solar projects, gaming, helping the judicial branch. Now's the time to use the remaining 176 million for direct relief. And we did send a proposal to the Navajo Nation Council. And we said, our people need help. We got emails, we got stories of people's bills being piled up, and yet none of that was considered, except for $1,000, right? $1,000 for hardship assistance. $1,000 is one person, right? And so what's going to be introduced this week by Key Allen Begay is a proposal for the remaining $176 million for direct relief assistance for our Navajo people. So if you look at the breakdown there, where it says CARES Fund, there's going to be a proposal for college student relief assistance. College students, you know, I've been advocating even far back as giving scholarships in the amount of $50 million. VP and I have pushed that through the council, tried to get that approved by the council, but it never went anywhere. And I know we're college students. We know how hard it is. Parents, you know how difficult it is to have a college student. And so we want to put some money for college student relief. Some of them have bills to pay. And so we want to put $35 million aside for direct student aid for our graduate, our college student, undergraduate college students. Oh, let me go back up. I missed the Navajo Nation Shopping Center Enterprises business assistance for $4 million. You know, a lot of these small businesses are not able to pay their lease or get supplies because of the closure. We want to put $4 million aside for their assistance so that they can get through. This is direct relief for those business people. And then again, $35 million for college student relief. Now, housing assistance. This is the housing initiative I was talking about. And it'll also have a amount for the former Bennett Freeze area. As you probably noticed, we want to have a housing manufacturing facility, a simple octagon design to help many of our people with housing. Or maybe if they want quickly, a modular home. And we need to do that for our citizens because some don't have a place to stay. And we got a lot of those requests, by the way. CARES Act education incentives to the Department of Social Services will administer this fund in the amount of $5 million. And those are for parents that have students. Some school districts were not able to give everybody laptops or school supplies through their allocation of CARES Act because they got CARES Act BIE through the Bureau of Indian Education. And so we want to put some money aside for those parents that are struggling. Remember, I want to emphasize, and I ask many of you to keep this in mind, that we want to focus on families that are struggling. Now, with all due respect, many of people have worked through this pandemic and stayed home. They got administrative leave monies. And I would just respectfully request, let's make sure that those that are struggling get this relief. So that is this Department of Social Services monies. Yes. I will be there, yes. I'm on the thing. Where was I at? I'm going into another meeting right now. I was just reminded of a meeting. CARES Act needs technical team. That goes to Department of Education. That's to help our teachers. We also have to help our teachers because they're also working from home or doing instructions from the classroom, but there's no in-class teaching going on where students are going, because we took a stand here on the Navajo Nation. We said no in-class this semester. And I appreciate all the 3 states saying, okay, Navajo Nation, we heard you. We're going to offer online classes. Same with the Bureau of Indian Education, BIE schools. We want the tribally controlled schools to follow, charter schools, all those schools on the Navajo Nation to offer online classes, because there was a survey that was done, and the survey had our parents say that they prefer online classes. The teachers also said that for their health and well-being. And so we took a position, Navajo Nation, and we appreciate everybody, all the schools following through on it. So that's for Department of Education. We also have Head Start reconfigurations of their Head Start centers and to help the students at $3.4 million for the Head Start students. So we're really targeting the most vulnerable population here, the small children, the elderly. With the social services, we got the elder assistance and the IT infrastructure. I think that's not right. It's supposed to be for the special needs individuals to get assistant direct aid for what they need, $15 million. Also, propane and natural gas for winter relief in the amount of $7.4 million. So those, like I said, we're going to be getting ready for the winter, and we'd like to get those that are struggling some propane so that they don't have to struggle through the hardship that may come because of COVID this winter. So, and then you go down to the new requests. We got a proposal from Verizon for $15.4 million. That's going to get chapters hooked up for broadband internet. Native Renewables, $15 million to get solar panels for those that need it, including the former Bennett Freeze area, $15 million. Here's solid waste again, $5 million. That would go under a program of the Navajo Nation. We're going to have to develop a new program, a solid waste program, to put that under. So I know the solid waste is an issue. Navajo DIT support for $1 million. We need to also expand our internet capability. So you just don't have to go to chapters. You could go to government offices to also log on to the internet. Police, EMS, in-vehicle internet connectivity, $602,000. And we want EMSs to also have internet capability. $10 million for the Office of the Controller for their consultants, contractors to help us oversee these dollars. Office of Management and Budget, the same thing, $1 million. And we also put more money. Remember, it was only $1,000 in hardship assistance. We want to recommend that hardship assistance in the amount of $30.5 million for those that are struggling out there that have having a hard time. Bills are piling up. I want to say thank you to parents, a lot of our dads being dads. I love you for this, because you said that you're going to stay home and take care of your family through this pandemic. You said, I'm not going to go off to work, off the Navajo Nation. I'm going to stay home and take care of my family. And because you didn't go off the nation, you weren't getting an income. But I commend you. This vice president commends you for doing that, taking care of your family. And what we want to do is help you too, and be able to get through this pandemic. Children are grateful, fathers, mothers, spending a lot more time with their parents, their guardians, their relatives, helping out their people. And I'm hoping, remember, as I said, we are teaching our young people to take care of each other, to be resilient, and to also farm again. Those stories are there. Families are reconnecting. Marriages are healing. And I want to say thank you. So hardship assistance and $30.5 million. And this will be direct aid. So altogether, this proposal is what is left over. The $176,463,909.37. That will be reintroduced into the council this week. I ask all of you that are listening to contact your council delegates, and let's get this direct aid approved so the Navajo people can get some funds to help them through this trying times. And if that gets approved in that amount, we have successfully allocated the entire $714,189,631.47. And we are confident that we can get these monies spent before December 30th of this year. Many of the line item vetoes that we did, some of these projects that we vetoed was not going to be able to be completed by December 30th. There was no way. And we would return those dollars. And that's the reason why we vetted these projects and we line item vetoed some of those, because it just couldn't get done. And we worked together on that. So we ask everybody for that support. So get out there and let your council delegates know that let's support Key Allen Begay's legislation. It'll be on the 5-day comment period. So let's get all of the CARES Act approved, and let's move forward in getting these projects done. Lastly, I just want to extend our condolences to Ernest C. Vicente Sr.'s family. He is a leader was a leader of the Navajo Nation. He passed on. Today we are honoring him with flags half-staff, many services. Go to our webpage. We have a proclamation in place. Ernest C. Vicente Sr. Many things he has done to help our Navajo people. I just ask for everybody to pray for the family, and we honor his dedication and his work to the Navajo people. And the family is going to be having a funeral for him today, and our hearts and prayers go out to him and many others throughout the Navajo Nation that have lost loved ones. And I know it's a long update. I know we'll do more of this update again on tomorrow evening, and to give you another breakdown of these dollars. So thank you so much for listening. I wish I could do a little bit more in Navajo, but I spoke long enough, and there's a lot of people that are on the call, town hall. So thank you, everybody. God bless you. Take care of yourself. Wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands with soap and water, and also stay home as much as you can. So I'm turning time over to our Vice President, Myron Lizer. So thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. President. A good update. I appreciate it. There's a lot that he said, a lot of, that kind of shows a lot of the work that's been going on. A lot of meetings, a lot of WebEx, a lot of Zoom calls. So we be zooming around. So it's good to be with you all this morning. As we opened up in prayer, I did introduce myself. It's always good to come back with you again and to give out information. Because we do have, Dr. Jill Jim will be following me up here. I know she's got some urgent and some, great information, as she always does, as well as our whole cast of speakers here and presenters here today. We have Dr. Jill Jim, Dr. Porfirio Fowler, we have JT Willie, Jason John, Deanna Nazar-Gishi. So, hey, it's a great one today. I'm not going to take too long, simply for the fact that President has kind of updated you on the all the legislation that was passed and that what wasn't passed and what the plans we are. So shout out to Key Allen Begay Jr. for sponsoring that legislation that we'll be working on. That's already probably written up, and he's dropping it today. So kudos to him. Appreciate his leadership there. So I believe, as we focus on the reopening, we brought back all of our non-essential employees. And so I think everybody is almost back in the fold, and we are operating now. I'm sure there's a little bit to get some traction and some momentum in all of our various divisions, programs, and in our offices, but so much prayer. We pray for them and that everybody gets their work started without a hitch. So we appreciate everybody being back here. I believe we can open up and recover safely. Ours is an economy is a workforce that needs to get back to work and provide all of those services that we've been missing during this pandemic. And so as our numbers drop, praise the Lord. It's good, but we're not out of the woods yet. So continue to, wear your mask. And we keep saying it, broken record, but broken record sometimes might keep us alive. So we appreciate all the leadership and all their messages. So let's all be safe out there. A couple of months ago, our office here received a sizable donation. There was a bunch of arts and crafts. It was some toys, kids' books, some DVDs for children, and it's from a Corwin Stewart, young lad from Los Altos Hills, California. And him and his sister Dharma saw probably on the news, the TV, that how bad our nation was getting affected by this virus. And so out of the goodness of their heart, they and with their parents' permission, of course, they provision to save up some money and bought and probably donated some of their own items here to the kids here on Navajo. And so here's a picture of Corwin. Just show that to you in Facebook land. There he is with his two puppies, but there's all of his donations. And so this morning, we went out to the Vice President's office, Sharon Yazi, Adam Begay, and Leo Hosky. We went out to give some of this to our own Hogan Hajoni here in St. Michael's. And I know the kids will be blessed with all of this crayons and origami and great arts and crafts. So God, the goodness. So God bless Corwin Stewart. And so we'll be sending a letter of thanks back to him, giving a little report. And so today at 1:00, we'll be going to the Manuelito Children's Home in Manuelito, New Mexico, where we'll be given the rest of it. I think the kids there range from toddlers on up to about 5th grade, and so it's very important that these get out to where they're intended. So God gives seed to the sower inside of the goodness of Corwin Stewart's heart. Him and his sister and the family there will be blessed, and so we'll give them a report. So just want to, as President has mentioned, there's been many that have donated to Navajo, and we're blessed because of it. And so we recently were part of an operation that sent food boxes to the tune of, I think, over 800 families were served in Phoenix just this past Saturday. And as President said, of course, we weren't there, but many there had rose to the occasion. The Phoenix Indian Center and some other volunteers gave out these food boxes. So what a blessing. It's very touching to see some of those people in line. And I think, maybe at one time, a couple of months ago, they were probably looking on the Navajo Nation and saying, hey, what about us? We're hurting too. And lo and behold, through the prayers and outreach was provided for the citizens of Phoenix area, and some of our own live out there in the valley, in the East Valley, the West Valley, all over Phoenix. So appreciate the ability to reach them, and it all starts from a generous heart. So that's one of the things that Nez Leiser administration has been promoting, and if not trying to enhance and leading by example, is just to get out and care for somebody. Sometimes your problems might be kind of big, but you put your emphasis on somebody else, your problems become small, and you do it long enough, your problems disappear. I don't know, just God's blessing. He wishes that we would take up caring for the orphan and the widows, and taking the burdens of others around us, and lifting the burdens and caring for others. So, that's just one of the things. So, 1:00, we'll be out at the Manolito Children's Home, giving these donations and connecting one last dot on those, the trip of all those arts and crafts and toys for those children there. And so, like I said, I didn't want to take too much time here, but what President did mean earlier too about Verizon being here on the ground. If our schools and out of the mercy that we're placing on the lives of all of our students, and keeping our schools closed, and asking the states and asking those powers that be keep our Navajo Nation schools closed because of COVID-19. We need to work to bring internet. We need to work to bring in, and I know many are. There's orders of laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots and modems and whatnot. Just a lot of stuff coming to Navajo, but. Just wanted to let you all know that Verizon is here in Windorot, in Chinle at the chapter house, also provision for Tuba City initially. These are just free services right now, and there's a proposal that we're working on that President mentioned to the tune of $15.48 million for bringing internet to every chapter here on Navajo. And they're looking at what it would look like to bring it to all 66 BIE schools, and so additional cost there. But, when you have the ability to provide internet capability in 12 weeks right now, I think we need to look into it. And so sending out an all points bulletin to all our council delegates to become knowledgeable about this. We'll be having meetings. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to us, and we'll be able to get you the information. We'll be having another meeting today. We'll be discussing taking internet out to southeastern Utah on the Navajo Reservation, to provide internet and Wi-Fi for our students that are going to be at home, trying to learn, trying to maintain their studies and whatnot. And so prayers for that endeavor. As we said earlier, what you commit to the Lord, you will be successful. And so we want to give him that. So anyway, without further ado, I appreciate this time here. I want to introduce our Executive Director of our Navajo Division of Health, Dr. Jill Jim. And so she's going to give you a lot of updates and important information, so as she always does. So thank you, Dr. Jim. You have the floor.
Thank you, Vice President, for all those words, and President as well, regarding the COVID-19 issues that are going on, and all the budget that everyone is supporting right now, with the legislations that were really recently discussed, and President's support of the Navajo Department of Health and the Health Command Operations Center to continue to provide and respond to the pandemic using the CARES Act dollars. So today I just wanted to briefly go over the CARES Act dollars, but let me just reiterate my plan, just for new listeners. Shay look on Sean Tachini Bashashin do Shane Dashache do Zafana Dashanala Adult San Shado not this on the Aisinasha, and I'm the current Executive Director for Department of Health. I wanted to just reiterate all the messages that we continually say for people to continue to wear their mask indoors, especially if they're indoors with people they don't know, outdoors all the times in public. These are the only tools that we have. Washing your hands every day, making sure that you have the ability to disinfect your areas when you're out doing your errands, and also understanding how to navigate in this pandemic now that there are more individuals moving around. The command center EPI team is doing a good job. We're continuing to monitor the situation as we have lifted some of the restrictions, and also some of the responsibilities that President and leadership has done to continue to operate government functions, as those are all needed services. So I just wanted to go over the CARES Act dollars that we were looking at, and we proposed to leadership, and it was basically to look at the understanding of how the disease really spread really quickly at the beginning of the pandemic with limited resources. And a lot of this does take a lot of policy actions and also health measures that are either done through the executive orders or either done by bringing in resources to support social distancing, and that requires possibly doing mitigation strategies to isolate and quarantine individuals in these areas when they are identified as COVID-19 individuals. We also understand to this day that we don't know how long this pandemic's going to last. As long as we don't have a vaccine or care, we can say that this is very unknown territory that we are living in today's society, and also that all the decisions that we are making on an everyday basis is based on data-driven and relevant community mitigation strategies. Also, the fall season and winter season, what we're looking at is also vaccines that we are not, that we don't have in our hand, and also how does the flu season impact our response to the pandemic. So with that being said, I want to just summarize some of the items that we have listed for our CARES Act dollars. Part of the $75 million includes an operation of an alternate care site in Chinle, and also isolation sites that we would like to continue to support, and in the Chinle Best Western and also the Kayenta Hotel, which we're still working on right now, and also a different tent facility looking at non-criminal offenders. So those are some isolation areas, but that isn't enough for our population, but we can begin to function under those kinds of plans, because the ICU bed and hospital capacity are not completely full. So that therefore those decisions were made in order to continue to operate the Navajo Nation into moving into phase 2 for businesses and tribal offices beginning to reopen. So right now, this is the time to re-strategize and look at our isolation areas, as there are new guidelines by the World Health Organization looking at doing assessments of home isolation is very important. And so there are several factors that the command center is re-looking at and understanding how to safely isolate at home. And if it's not feasible, there are criteria and questions that we are looking at. And so we hope that with these new guidelines, we will be able to better isolate individuals using the congregate setting that we have in Chinle Community Center, and also a non-congregate setting at the hotels that I mentioned. So those are basically to make sure that we reduce transmission at any time, because if you don't have running water or electricity, we would rather prefer that you are in an area where you do have access to water and electricity and you are isolated, and also you're within distance of a health facility. So those are very critical information that I hope that when this is up and going, that we are well informing the public of these isolation criteria by working with our Indian Health Service health facility partners, and also the tribal health care organizations across the Navajo Nation. And within the next item is just the emergency medical services. In the response for COVID-19, EMS are very underfunded, and we want to continue to expand and support their capacity and making sure that we support local businesses. And this program is very important to transport COVID-19 patients across all facilities, isolation, and alternate care sites. So we know that there is not enough EMS vehicles on the Navajo Nation, and also that with the update of equipment that's very needed for the EMS personnel and their vehicles, we hope to support that to ensure that we have safe transport options for our patients for EMS going forward in the future response and our current response to COVID-19. So it's very important that we keep looking at our continued capacity and resources locally on the Navajo Nation. As we continue to look at screening, education, and vaccinations of COVID-19 and also the flu, right now there are several health facilities that have mobile units to conduct these services, but the Navajo Nation, we don't have a mobile unit to do any sort of education. So we hope to strategize using these resources for the Navajo Nation, not only for now, but the future, to continue to provide these sorts of public health interventions, bringing a mobile unit for testing or screening, also to conduct vaccinations, and also to disseminate information is very important. So the $75 million is not only to benefit the Navajo Nation as a whole, as an entity, but it's as a whole in response to supporting and bridging the gaps between the health facilities and outreach of public health education. Other areas that we allocated are COVID testing dollars and vaccination for adults. And there are only a few dollars, not that much in comparison to isolation, but this is to help with ensuring that we have COVID testing availability, not only for Navajo Nation employees, but also community members, and also ensuring that we have a pot of money just for vaccination for adults if the federal agencies are only allocating a certain amount at one time, but we hope to at least procure a little bit just so that we can provide those availability. In addition to vaccination for adults, I know that our leadership has spoken on continuing to look at supporting clinical vaccinations as well. Other areas we're looking into is contractual services for surveillance, case management, and public health measures. As you know, that the Navajo Nation, we here are really a small crew under the Department of Health with epidemiologists, case managers, and contact tracers. Most of the responders that we have under the COVID-19 have other duties and responsibilities. And so we hope to expand the workforce through hiring local individuals, but also building capacity and sustainability and coaching and train-the-trainer models, and also data support in regards to the COVID-19 response. So I hope that we will work on that and achieve through those measures and helping build the entire Navajo Nation's capacity to respond to COVID-19. Food delivery services for senior centers are very important. Under the CARES Act dollars, we need to ensure there are safe deliveries to seniors and elders because they are a high-risk population. And so we will be working with the senior centers to improve equipment for safe preparing of food and safe delivery of foods as well. So that can help with the workforce and their ability to do their job around the clock with providing meals to seniors on a daily basis. So that's kind of a summary of the CARES Act dollars for the Navajo Department of Health and also the Health Command Operations Center. And I just want to thank the listeners on the call, and I would like to introduce Dr. Perfilia Fowler. She's the Director for Human Resources. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Jim. Ado kadoni shady my education not college bashin. Ashita shenando tapa edashe kotus aholiere ade nasha ado hashin sogo kwaendos neshi ekehe nice okay ashin indi hashin sogo it is on the abeni so equalo ben hika anelo and I want to thank all our employees for returning to work, and then also for some of our employees that have been working. Thank you. We appreciate all that you do, and as you all know by now, we're going through our gradual reopening. And we are encouraging to have you continue to wear your PPEs, your mask, which is mandatory. And then also we do have some gloves. We do have thermometers that are being distributed and within your division. So please keep your social distancing. Adon hichiton hindi betates balito ashwanda apen na khanla. We do have no-shop personnel that went out with the past couple of days, and we do have to report that we did have one employee that was not wearing his mask correctly. So you know who you are, and please wear it correctly, because our no-shop personnel are not out there to give citations. All they're doing is making sure that we wear our mask properly, that we're in the appropriate social distancing area, and they're reevaluating some of the office configurations that are being utilized currently in some of these offices. Again, they're not out there to issue any citation, but to make us aware of our safety precautionary measures. They've been in Window Rock area, Fort Defiant, St. Michael's area, so we will be making our rounds through other areas to the city, Chinle, Shiprock, Crown Point. So we want to make sure that you are wearing your masks appropriately. So, and as of Monday, we did report that our administrative leave has been lifted. So our employees are no longer on administrative leave. As you're all aware, those of you that were on administrative leave, you continue to accrue your annual and sick leave. So, and on top of that, our special duty pay also has ended per our procedures, our policy and procedure. The special duty pay, once the executive order is lifted, the special duty pay is also lifted. However, our public health order is still in place. You know, we are strictly monitoring the numbers on a daily basis. Supervisors, managers, directors, di ko ana handa na shi ashwade ba nan hin chka jo tatino san handa na shi adon hinda na shi ahna na hinat ani jo tatino san do iketa hana. We have some supervisors, managers, directors that are not closely collaborating with their employees. Out of respect, I'm asking you to please collaborate with your employees. We do have what is called a telecommuting policies. We have quite a bit of employees that commute to work. If you come up with an agreement, this gradual reopening, we're talking about not bringing everybody back in 100% in this first week. We're asking that you work with your personnel, those of the employees that are commuting quite a ways. Maybe it's time that as a supervisor and manager that you come up with an agreement with telecommuting by assigning additional tasks to your employees to have productivity return to you. We also have what is called a flexible work schedule. If as an employee, if you do experience COVID during working time, we do have what is called the COVID leave. We do have most of the offices that are on limited services. We have constituents, we have people that want to come for services to our Navajo Nation. You need to make your office available by posting your contact number, your office number on the door. Let them call you, take their temperature. Some of them are taking temperatures, but make sure that You let them in one at a time. There are procedures, so follow those safety guidelines. We are in the budget season. Hashin saka peso, penahatahido, hashin saka penanikinan nishil and katishji. We also continue where we are continuing to have travel restrictions. Ajado hashin saka nahona atanigi san huinosan hitna. Edo ish kapa akwanasan. We do want you to continue to adhere to our curfew orders. Again, we're not going to stop saying this. We want you to continue to wear your mask, wash your hands, and keep the social distancing within your office area. Ohot ashi kodoben hichanana si dole to yego beta afosya shikedo shidene enosleni ado hashin sako kodo. Put anan hiti niho adon hizabik enta khalecho joan hiti nido yon hini nini benna en hiti ne do ye go pe eta akwasya hashin sakon leda squido sani yenta antkine nasato ehosen da dan hit ne e ben kashik edo shitne benna ye go ata hafyadon hizar jobe yata tke Ado ana and let the bitch ata tke ado sad lini hajobe ata khala e ben he hot idzin hizani ena papa akhwashia ado khado oshi yugon hich hope khatotsi lanante but a creature khado ben hich hate. At this time, the next individual online is Deanna Neswit-Gishi. So we'll go ahead and give you the floor, Deanna. Na ake educator should na. I think if she's not available, oh, there she goes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Deanna Neswagishi. I'm with Navajo Nation Division of Social Services as the Executive Director. I'd like to have discussion on 3 areas. President Nez had talked about the amount of individuals who have unfortunately passed due to COVID-19 burial assistance. And so the number that he provided, it is actually higher from the Navajo Nation COVID-19 assistance that we are providing from the Division of Social Services. And the reason for the difference in higher numbers, we have served over 600 individuals. I believe the President Nez had mentioned 484 individuals. And the difference in the services that we are providing is it is not just individuals who are residing on the Navajo Nation. We are providing assistance to any Navajo individual who has a certificate of Indian blood, as well as the cause of death is COVID-19. So we don't have to serve individuals who only reside on Navajo. And so the numbers provided by the Navajo Nation Health Command Operations Center is only focused on numbers for Navajo citizens. So we have opened it up. We ran into a little hiccup in the beginning that we were only using 11 contracted mortuaries that our current services were provided from the regular burial assistance through the Department for Self-Reliance, which is the Navajo Family Assistance Services. So what we found out, and many of you have called our office and felt that was a disservice, and how we can address that need. So we quickly had to adjust. And so we have made those adjustments. And so right now, we do not only work with 11 contracted mortuaries, we are also working with any mortuary that may be willing to work with us. There's a contract's not necessary. And so we are able to work with more mortuaries outside of the area. An example, individuals who are residing in the area, let's say in Delcon Loop, up towards Blanding, we were doing a disservice and not servicing those individuals. And we were initially requiring that they had to use one of the 11 contract mortuaries. And so we have heard the comments raised, and so we have adjusted that. So the process right now is to work directly with the mortuary of your choice. We have received requests down in Phoenix, individuals who want to utilize a mortuary in Phoenix, and it's a Navajo individual, and they're not wanting to come back to the Navajo Nation to bury their loved one. And so that is where we're coordinating with individual mortuaries so we can assist the family. We've assisted with families, who are out working out in the East, Missouri, Iowa. And so we're coordinating with those mortuaries. And so the Navajo Nation COVID-19, we have increased the amount of assistance to $3,500. And I know initially there was discussion about where the standard burial amount was at a set amount, the cremation was a set amount, the Navajo traditional burial was a set amount. And so right now there's no limits, up to $3,500 to assist our Navajo individuals who have passed. And so we hear what is out there, what the need is. And so thank you for the comments that you have raised and so that we can help more individuals. So right now, we have spent more than $1.4 million in 4 months. April 15th was our first day that we provided Navajo Nation COVID-19 assistance. And again, to assist over 600 individuals who reside on or off Navajo is a high number in only 4 months. And so we will have a need for additional funding in that area. As President Nez had stated earlier on the CARES Act, $1,000 was provided for hardship assistance. And many of you have spoken out as well, stating, what can someone do with $1,000 for the entire Navajo Nation for hardship assistance? And this is where, again, as voters of Navajo Nation, this is where we have to start looking at immediate plans. It's heartbreaking when I get a call from a family member that do not have the resources. They may have lost their parent, a brother, and another brother, and the individual is stating that we don't have the money. We're having to use maxing out other people's credit cards. We're taking a loan at the mortuary, and that's not acceptable. We are in a pandemic, and as much as we want to protect ourselves, wearing our mask, washing our hands, there's individuals who are asymptomatic, and we don't know who may come near us that may have it. And so we're not prepared as Navajo citizens. And so this is where we listen to you, where the needs are. So I'm gonna, we also have through the Navajo Family Assistance Services, which is under the Department for Self-Reliance, they have received funding now for COVID-19. And that one is different because it's need-based. And so we need to make sure that those individuals who truly have a need, and that one is different. That one requires, it's under the BIA 93-638, COVID-19, and that will cover up to $3,500 as well, up to the standard burial costs. And when I say that, let's say the mortuary is charging a total of $4,000. Division of Social Services will process $3,500 to the mortuary of your choice, and then the family be responsible for the difference of $500. We have been receiving some invoices for burial. The total burial expense, let's say, is $3,200. So that relieves the family that the division pays for the $3,200. And so the family does not have to pay any out-of-pocket costs. Again, none of us were prepared for this pandemic. So with the BIA 638 COVID-19 burial assistance, again, that's going to cover the same amount. Those have higher restrictions. That requires the individual to reside on the Navajo Nation for the past 6 months prior to death. Again, the Navajo Nation COVID-19 does not have the residency requirement. The 638 burial assistance does require that the individual be Native, not necessarily Navajo, and that they have to be needy, meaning they have no resources at all. And so that's another assistance that is potentially available as well. So, I just wanted to provide all of you this information so that you're aware that we are here as a resource through this very, very difficult time so that we can help family members. Again, it's heartbreaking when there's one individual in a household, but when you're having 2 or 3 close family members, that's very heartbreaking. And we need to see as Navajo divisions, departments, Navajo Nation, how can we help the families? So now I'm going to switch over to another service. And so, thank you to Key Allen Begay for considering sponsoring additional legislation to actually do direct assistance under hardship. Again, the $1,000 is not sufficient. And so President Nez had talked about 2 other assistance that we're proposing to offer to our Navajo families. The first one is the educational hardship assistance. And so this is where we had submitted a budget for $5 million using the CARES Act funding. And so that is where we're wanting to assist 20,000 school-age children, ages 3 to 18, in the amount of $250. This one does not require an individual to reside on Navajo or to attend a school on Navajo. I was watching the online, I was reading at some of the comments, and someone had put a comment in there. So the comment was very specific that we're all Navajo, and why are we not considered that where we reside? And I listened to that because those were part of the discussions that we had with our team. And so with the educational assistance, if it is passed this week, that will be resources to families who, let's say, reside in Gallup and their child goes to school in Gallup. Individuals who reside in Flagstaff or Phoenix. You have a need for educational assistance. And this is where, again, as President Nez had mentioned earlier, talk to your delegates. This is something that we need your support. And so the only requirement is that they're attending school. And so educational assistance, as many of you are probably having to experience, is this virtual learning. And it's difficult. I don't have school-age children anymore, but I have Nollies. And when my Nollies were starting school virtually, the 2nd grader was right on task. He got onto the laptop and he knew what he needed to do. I popped into the room and I started talking. I said, "Oh, sorry." I was trying to pretend I was whispering. And he says, "Nolly, that's okay. You're muted." I mean, how does a 2nd grader who's 7 years old know these things already? And this is what we're doing. We need to prepare our children to utilize the internet technology. Now, my other Nolly, the sister, she's 5 years old, starting kindergarten. And she was so disengaged after a few minutes. And the parent has to sit there with someone who's in kindergarten. And her comment kept being was, "Can we be done?" She didn't want to do it, and yet the parent was there. So now we're running into situations where as parents, grandparents, we may not be as technology savvy. And then we don't have the equipment. if you have 2, 3, 4 children in your household, you're not able to provide that one-on-one with every child. And so you may not have 5 or 6 laptops. And this is where the educational hardship assistance would be come into play. $250 if you need to buy a tablet, laptop, school clothes, school supplies. It's very open in that area. So we do have 2 other school clothing, so I wanted to bring that up as well. We have the Navajo Educational Incentive. That used to be the former Navajo School Clothing. And so as some of you remember the Navajo School Clothing, you got your shoes, you got a jacket, and you got a pair of pants. Sometimes it didn't fit, maybe it wasn't your favorite color, but that was given to you. So that has changed now to where it is actually direct assistance, $250. And that one has focus to individuals who are attending school or residing on school on Navajo Nation. Again, the proposed CARES Act educational hardship is not based on Navajo. So they will be able to assist with the same amount, $250, up to 6,000 children. And those funds are directly administered to the family. The third part of the school incentives is if a child is receiving TANF benefits from the Department for Self-Reliance. You may be aware that all school-age children are given $250 for school supplies, school clothing, and so that educational assistance is available. Same amount, $250, and they're able to service, I believe it's just over 6,000 children that they currently have. Now, the Department for Self-Reliance is very, very unique department within Navajo Nation. They have a case management database. And so they will administer all 3 of the funding sources. And so if someone comes in, they give their name, date of birth, or whatever identifying information, they will be able to determine, again, to reduce duplication, that you receive the funding from TANF or you receive the funding from the Navajo Nation Educational Incentive, which used to be the Navajo School Clothing. So they will make that determination at that point. There's going to be one application, and they'll determine which funding source. So when you're looking at the number of individuals that were able to serve during this pandemic to address the virtual education that our children are doing, it's a struggle. And so I was asking our departments for statistics. How many children are we serving within the division? How many children out of home placement? How many children are in foster care? We have almost 600 children who are in licensed foster homes. The foster homes are to provide care and supervision for children. Now on the added duty is you have to be a parent. You have to be a teacher. And so they may not be prepared. So we're having those discussions now with foster parents. How can we assist? How can we provide that additional support for a laptop or a tablet? And so we also have more than 60 children in emergency shelters. And so the shelters, we have one in Wonder Rock, Gallup, and Farmington. They're not prepared to teach the children as well. And so we have the children in a safe environment. So they may have to have tutors, and any of you out there who want to assist in these shelters have that coordination because they're there to provide the supervision, not to be the educators. So that's what I wanted to provide on information on the CARES Act educational hardship assistance that we're proposing. Yes, there's other funding, but again, we have to look at there's restrictions in each of them, and so we just want to provide as much care and assistance that we can for our children. Now, lastly, I want to provide information regarding Again, President Nez had talked about the elder and developmental disability hardship assistance. And he had mentioned the 15 million that's being proposed. That would be administered by the Department for Self-Reliance, which is Department of Family Services, which is under the umbrella Division of Social Services. And so when we look at the population of our elders, they're going through a hardship during this COVID-19. They're not used to, having to just really stay home. There's a lot of cleaning supplies. They need to do a lot of extra protections for themselves that they normally do not do. So those are added costs. The food that they're having to use, maybe they're changing some of their eating habits. To buy some fruit is a lot more expensive than to buy a candy bar. We want our elders to have nutritious food, but those cost a lot higher. And so we're trying to see how to assist our elders. Our developmental disability population, they seem to not be a focus many times. And so this is where we're proposing this hardship assistance. And we're in our budget, we're proposing $400 to our elders or to developmental disability. And we have our statistics for developmental disabilities for Arizona. And those are, from birth up, up until, whatever age that the elder may be. And so they have almost 200 individuals who are currently receiving services on Navajo. And so there's higher numbers in that area. The state of Arizona might be servicing, I believe 412 are off Navajo Nation. And so I know that in one of the president's initiatives is how can we have some of our elders being raised here? How can we assist our developmental disability individuals to be residing here on Navajo? So it's heartbreaking to have our elders or our individuals who have disability to be off Navajo. It's a hardship on the family to have to travel the distance. And so those are some initiatives that the entire Navajo Nation is looking at. How can we have the individuals here? And so for that hardship assistance, like I said, we're proposing $400 a month, and it can be recurring. And again, the CARES Act has a focus that if there is, because of the COVID-19, is it causing a hardship on the elder and on the developmental disability? If so, how can we assist those individuals? So this is where, again, there's proposed legislation that President Nez will be submitting. He talked about most of the proposals that were passed by our council was approved. There was some line item vetoes, and this is where we're looking at adding more funds into the hardship assistance. And so I just wanted to briefly provide that information. And hopefully, again, we move forward with the entire Navajo Nation. You got to wear your mask. You have to keep your distance. Wear gloves if you can. Division of Social Services has been working primarily through this pandemic. We've been at 90% staff working since March. And so we're back at 100% of our staff as of 2 weeks ago. And I know Dr. Fowler had provided information about staggered schedules, but majority of the staff within the Division of Social Services are essential staff. And so we had to be able to provide that service on a daily basis. Weekends, we have staff on call, addressing any child or adult or elder abuse and neglect calls. We have domestic violence situations that occur 24/7. And so we need to move forward and address what needs to be taken care of. So thank you all for listening to to my presentation. And I will turn over next to the presenter, which is J2 Wally. He's the director for department. Okay, there he goes. Thank you. JT?
Yeah, I'm here, Deanna. Yeah, Deanna, thank you very much for that presentation. So just to walk you through what we have going on here at the Division of Economic Development. As I have said, and welcome back to our building again, we have set up the entire building to be socially safe, to put in all requirements for CDC restrictions on social distancing, on making sure that the building adheres to all necessary areas when it comes to your health and comes to the employees' health that visit us here, and also all of our offices located throughout the Navajo Nation. Our regional offices in Chinle, Tuba City, Gallup, Church Rock, and Shiprock. So again, we welcome back majority of our employees here. They're working in staggered schedules. Just want to take you guys into the second floor. So the second floor of the building, again, reminds everybody to be socially safe, six feet apart. And then that all of the individuals that occupy this building must also wear their masks. So as you come into our building, you sign in downstairs, and then you sign in again if you're located here on the second floor. All of the employees sign in, just due to the fact that we want to ensure that when you do occupy the building, that we also ensure that when the cleaning crew, sanitizing crew comes in to clean up at the end of the day into the evening, they follow this schedule, so they ensure that they take extra precautions, and they also implement extra cleaning procedures when it comes to cleaning the building and offices. We do have sanitizing stations set up, hand sanitizer located throughout the building. So all employees are required, and again, encouraged to sanitize as much as possible here, walking through the building, as well as at their desk locations. So as you come in, each of our offices and our buildings have been provided necessary equipment to keep them safe here at work. The face mask, the sanitation gel, hand sanitizer, the wipes, as well as also gloves if you need the gloves. We have implemented safety guides for everyone to follow when it comes to being safe here at the office. There are arrows put in place for each of our stations set up. So when you come into a specific area, we make sure that you're being safe and we're keeping you safe as an employee within this particular building. This particular area is our copy room. Only one person is allowed in this area. So when you come in, you follow again through the area. We have an arrow taking you back out of this particular room to take you back out to the necessary area that you're going to for the building. So again, reminding people to sanitize, stay safe, and as we come forward, I would like to show you guys what we've been working on the last couple of months through this whole summer. We had a crew that has been dedicated for the PPE project. The PPE project is the handmade face mask that were donated and also produced by the crew that you see here, Mr. Capitan and Ms. Manus, who are assigned here to help us with this particular project. They're both employees of this particular division. We do have another crew that helped us throughout the summer, but of course, our interns have returned back to work, back to school. So therefore, we're picking it up and keeping it going with the people that work for us. We will be bringing on additional staff to assist us in this process moving forward. So just want to introduce these guys really quick. So Mr. Capitan, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Douglas Capitan. I'm a senior project development specialist here at the division, and I've been here for a year, and this has been what's been keeping us busy for these past 5 months.
Hi, my name is Shania Manus, and I'm a Senior Economic Development Specialist here at Division of Economic Development. And we've been working on this project for the past few months since we were put on our, what would that be?
Make sure that we...
Yeah, so we've been here the entire time on admin leave, but working here. And so we're excited and we're happy to help the Navajo people.
So as we move forward and as these two are working here, you notice that there's a bunch of face masks that they go through. We follow all necessary guidelines possible So when staff enter, they go through their sanitation process before they access the mask. The masks are then provided with instructions on how to clean your mask, how to wear your mask, and how it is reusable and to wash and to maintain the cleanliness of it. When we do the request for the mask, we send those out for order. So we get the orders in, we send them out to individuals that do a request for face masks through us. And then again, we sanitize them, we prepare them. These masks have already been sanitized. These are already ready to go and packed for delivery. We do have quite a bit that will be going out here within the next couple of days. And of course, we will see through that the project continues moving forward. So I want to walk you through what was mentioned earlier by President Nez. So before we begin, you know who I am. My name's JT Willie. I'm the Division Director for Economic Development. Don't actually get a behind little catchy bashin. I don't see a dash channel here on a national. I don't see a bask. I see a nasha. Bask. The open next. I don't non Georgia don't know how to go. I see Nikeda with Shadow, Chication Marshaja, Shadow, Shamayaj, see here in Tago. So what I'm going to go through with you is our presentation for the CARES Act. And that was mentioned by President Nez and Vice President Leiser. The Navajo Nation Division of Economic Development has been allotted $60 million for immediate relief to our businesses and to our artisans. Now, we're waiting patiently on getting to the point of starting the award process. But before we can get there, we have to go through a series of steps in order to fulfill these awards. Now, in order for us to start awarding funds, we need to make sure that businesses, those that are not registered, and those that are registered, and our artisans in particular, become identified on our source list. Now, when I went before the Navajo Nation Council, I mentioned that we have to ensure that every area has been checkmarked in order for us to ensure that these funds are used for what they're supposed to be used for. And in this case, for the Navajo Nation CARES Act, for the Division of Economic Development, we're going to ensure that through all of the guidelines outlined by the Treasury, through all of the guidelines outlined by the Navajo Nation, because we are the administrators of the fund, we need to ensure that we stay compliant and that we avoid any risk possible when it comes to awarding our funds. So in particular for our businesses throughout the Navajo Nation, you have to go through a step-by-step process. The step one process is going to be the Navajo Nation Division of Economic Development source application. So in order to receive funds from the CARES Act that the division will be awarding, you must be resourced on that resource list. I know it adds another layer of paperwork necessary, but as the administrator of the funds, we want to ensure that we meet all areas and standards possible in order to ensure that these funds are being used appropriately. Our next process, again at the same time, is the Navajo Tax Commission form. So many of us probably don't file tax as a business on the nation. And so these are the requirements that you have to go through off reservation. The same thing should happen here on the Navajo Nation. So as a member and as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a artisan, you should have a Form 100 identifying and designating you as a tax entity. That form can be found at www.tax.navajo-nson.gov. These two coincide with each other. And our application has been streamlined for the process. We've eliminated some requirements because we want to start pushing everybody through. And then our number 3 here is you get issued your certification number, which will then be used for your application to the CARES Act. Now, with that application, you insert the number that you get from here into number 4, which is the application for the Navajo Nation CARES Act. And in that process, again, we will be here. We will be bringing on additional staff to walk you through the technical process of being an applicant and eventually getting you through the end of the application process. Number 5 is the review process for the application. And then lastly, the award for the check disbursement that will take place for anyone who's applying for the funds. One thing I would like to stress, though, and that was brought up earlier by Director Neswood Gishi, and that was also brought up by President and Vice President, is that in order to receive these funds, you must show a display of hardship. So therefore, your business, your income must be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. If you've been in operation and you have been getting funds and you have been sustaining your business or yourself, unfortunately, you may not be eligible for the funds coming down for those hardship needs and assistance. There will be another requirement again when you go through the application process to ensure that your business was in operation prior to the pandemic. You could not have created your business this year just because there needs to be a comparison of your operation from 2019 to 2020. So therefore, we will take all of those considerations into review once we get you through the process. Now, to start our application, which is live now, that you can apply for, is at NavajoEconomy.org. NavajoEconomy.org, it's on the very first page. You will find the application for the source listing so that you can get through that process. So when it comes time for us to start accepting the CARES Act application, you can immediately start applying, and therefore you don't have to wait on to doing 1, 2, and 3. Now, with the tax information, we also want to ensure that when you go through this process, if you have an EIN number, an employee identification number, you're encouraged to use that number. Again, irs.gov has that particular application. It's all online, so it's easy to access. If you need help in order to access those applications, we will be more than willing to help you from here, from our division, from our RBDOs, and the new staff that we'll be bringing on board. So give us a call. Again, our phone number, 928-871-6544. Now, the next process, again, for us to go through is going to be the first application I talked about earlier, which is the Business Regulatory Department, BRD. So in this process, this will recognize you on the source listing to be a Navajo registered business, to be resourced under the Navajo Opportunity Act priority certification process. So therefore, in this particular diagram, it looks discouraging, but our goal is to assist you. And because they're all online now, it's a lot easier to go through the process. Now, the first one, again, is to get the Navajo certification application. The next process, again, that I mentioned earlier, your EIN or your social security number will be used for that application. After that, you need to have a designated list of your past projects. This does not need to be detailed word for word, line for line, but it just shows justification that if you're a small business, you did this, you did that, you worked here, you procured this contract here, just for us, again, for assurance that the business is actually in existence. If you're an artisan, a performing artist, a silversmith, a rug weaver, a vendor within any of our parks, you can list those particular areas here for what we call justification, so that we're able to ensure that, yes, this individual has been in business, this individual has been a performing artist of the Navajo Nation, therefore they're eligible to be put on this source list. The next one, again, duties and responsibilities of your organization. Organization meaning you're the owner. I do this, I do that, I sell here, I prepare for this, and what have you. Most importantly, your CIB, your Certificate of Indian Blood. Again, the grant program is eligible only for Navajo enrolled individuals for their businesses and for you as artisans for your business. Number 6, as I mentioned in the first diagram, is that tax form that needs to be filled out, because when we go through the procurement process here, we need to ensure that you have that form filed under the tax office. Again, tax.navajo-nsn.gov, or this form is also located on our website, navajoeconomy.org. Fill out those 2 forms, get them to us so that we can start processing your application. Organizational information, if you have more than 1 person employed, you need to indicate that. These do not have to be full pages. They can just be part 1, part 2, part 3 within these particular documents that are asked of you. After we complete steps 1 through 7, you get your certification number. Again, because we redid the application process, we have streamlined the process, we have ensured that we're able to walk in applications, get them processed and returned within a 24-hour time frame, so that when it comes time for you to apply for the CARES Fund, you have already done majority of the work necessary to be recognized as a sole proprietor, as an entity, as a corporation, an LLC, a partnership, whatever, on the Navajo Nation when it comes to your business. Lastly, again, our biggest encouragement, because we did all of this work with you, is to get recertified, continue to be a certified business of the Navajo Nation, so that when it comes time to get procured or resourced, we're able to resource this resource list. Unfortunately, at this time, we have a little under 200 entities recognized on the business resource list. And that could be for reasons because the individual does not want to go through this process, or maybe just because the individual, again, is discouraged because nobody buys Navajo. Of course, that's what we're here for. Walk you through the process, educate you, so that when it comes time to bidding out your projects or applying for different work that is being advertised by not only the Navajo Nation, but its enterprises, that you are compatible and that you're able to get the work done needed in order to be recognized as a business of the Navajo Nation. And then lastly, to go through all of the processes necessary on your end to be a successful business of the Navajo Nation. Again, we're going to be starting our live forums as well as some video tutorials on the application process. Navajo Nation Economic Relief Grant, Business and Artisan Funding. What we plan to do is walk you through a series of forums and lectures online so that you're able to get assistance with your application. And of course, you may Facebook friend us, Facebook like us, Navajo Economic Development. We're also on Instagram, Navajo DED. You may email us, navajoeconomy@navajo-nsn.gov. Visit the website, navajoeconomy.org. Lastly, 928-871-6544. And then most importantly, if none of this is possible, please come see us. We are located in St. Michael's at the Kerrigan Building Complex. Here it's the 2-story, orange-looking building here in St. Michael's. You may reach out to myself, my staff. We also have our regional offices throughout the entire nation. Again, our Chinle location, our Tuba City location, our Church Rock location for Eastern Navajo, and our northern location out in Shiprock. You can resource all the information on the website. You can call us at 928-871-6544. And we look forward to assisting you and reaching out with this $60 million appropriation for artisans and for businesses of the Navajo Nation. I really would like to extend my gratitude to our Navajo Nation Council, to our sponsor of the amendment, Shania, Mr. Honorable Stewart Wilson Stewart, for helping us get this money appropriated and through the line. And most importantly, our leadership, Mr. Jonathan Nez, Otto Alanja Dasadahige, Mr. Myron Lizer. With their guidance and support, we're able to make these things possible. We are able to bring the need and relief where it should go. This fund program is at allotted 95% for direct relief for businesses and for artisans. Within these past couple of weeks, we've met with a lot of entities to assist us in this process. Change Labs out of Western Navajo, our own Danette Chamber, American Indian Chamber out of Albuquerque, and other organizations throughout the nation and around the Navajo Nation, because everyone is affected by the current pandemic. So therefore, our intuition here is to resource everyone as much as possible when it comes to seeing this program through success. And with their guidance and their input, we have evaluated and redone the application so that we're not able to bracket everybody into different awards. The baseline, again, is going to be $5,000 per artist, or a $10,000 baseline for businesses. If the business shows need between $0 and $10,000, they're going to have to justify that with a fill-in on the application. If they require more funding above $10,000, then they have to submit additional documentation to ensure that the business has been affected because of the COVID-19 and because of the current pandemic that we're in here on the Navajo Nation. Any questions, again, please reach out to us. This will be located on all of the social media, and we look forward to assisting you again. And Otto, I appreciate each one of you. Again, take care of yourself, wash your hands, sanitize, socially distance yourself. Our businesses as well, we encourage you to open safely, be mindful of your patrons, and most importantly, protect your employees. Thank you very much.